Art education in different cultural contexts is obviously very different, but with the integration of cultures, the context of art education is constantly being reconstructed. Identity is a symbol of cross-cultural and cross-regional humanism. The identification of a sense of belonging has a greater influence on the formulation of the differentiation of the field spirit of art education. The development of art education originates from the developmental process of culture. The early interpretation of cultural identity was Hardest Cultural. He used the ciphers as the comparison, thinking that each culture is similar to a single closed cipher. Communication is only conflict with another cipher. Refer to another historical philosophy about human education, Frankfurt, Second publication 1967. This kind of typical is nationalism, even populism. This argument ignores that the culture, penetration, and integration caused by the development of the times of is an uninterrupted real-time process, and the reconstruction of the context often achieves a quality leap in subtle ways. To a certain extent, culture itself is cross-cultural, and nationality certainly plays a big role, and it is embodiment of the spirit of field in a large sense. Some people think that this populism culture will can critical rejection the globalization process and its search of identity, but they underestimate the practical differentiation in the unified traditional created from Wolfgang Wisch. Rethinking identity issues in the era of globalization was originally published in 2001 on Asian art, external wealth and internal response at Rhizomes University, Kyoto, Japan. A feast of beauty and art collected works in commemoration of God Lin Hengdao. The diverse field choice in each tradition constitutes the continuity of choice, and the cross-ethnic cultural characteristics in national culture will continue to influence new choice, just as Kingdom expand well today. Art masters in Japan are full of cosmopolitan and modernity. The reason is that the self-confidence of the intelligence has been hit hard after World War, and the recipe of culture needs to be broken in order to stand up. On the one hand, is due to the pain of defeat in the war, various sacrifice, and even fragmentation of the national culture. On the other hand, concentrate on studying another culture, Western culture, in order to create a new tradition and nationalism in Japanese culture. Japanese artists of Chinatown tried their best to learn from their own culture elemental symbols. However, no matter how you to try to separate the relationship with the past and establish a new order, the essence of tradition and cultural temperament are still continued in the underlying culture of core through human middle, and traditional art is reshaping modernity and platinum, the traces of stain have a subtle effect. It can be seen that, to some extent, the continuation of tradition does not exist as a deliberate inheritance. It is often unconscious, subconscious, and influenced by the subconscious core. Spirit tends to be more powerful in matter realization, creation, goddess, and in shaping with distinctive characteristics of West side. The possible structure of Japanese identity is intercultural. West is a professor of theoretic philosophy at the University of Guinea. Globally, his research fields include epistemology, aesthetics, art, theory, and culture philosophy. The discussion in this article comes from the discussion in the article Rethinking Identity Issues in the Era of Globalization. Ryosho Ashe Hai also thought that the self-identity of Japanese culture is a kind of thought. Self-identity, just like the water is put into containers of various shapes, but the water itself has not changed. Royal Shuk, Ahashi, Beauty in Japan, History and Modern Aesthetics, Dumped Press, 1994. This well is consistent with ancient Japanese culture has no fixed essence. Japanese philosophy between the magnetic fields of Eastern and Western language. Published at the 50th International Conference on Aesthetics, there are great seminars. To a certain extent, it can be understood that the core of Japanese culture is non-nuclear culture, which is a cultural operation feature formed after the intervention of outside culture. Nuclear can be regarded as kind of spiritual essence, like the four arithmetic operations of mathematics. Its own existence is only established in the process of complex calculations. This can also be understood as a kind of cross-culture and cross-context process. Identity in China, which is why tradition and modernity, Eastern and Western, can coexist and develop harmoniously here.